God bless. Fari Nelson here, and today I'm here to talk to you about how I'm not mean, I just see through you. So, I'm not mean. This is something that comes up, I feel like a lot of people on their spiritual journey, when they're becoming more awoken to how things are being aligned in this world. We realize that this world is crazy, that this world is being run off madness, being run off wickedness, being run off greed, being run off lack, being run off fear. We realize these things. And when we're on our spiritual journey, our awareness starts to rise into the point that we sometimes are aware of things even when our direct, frontal consciousness isn't aware of it. We start to take paths and walk in, walk in different ways, and we might drive a different route than we normally would, and we don't know why, but really we're being led around an obstacle. We're being led around something that could have caused us suffering and pain, but we don't always realize it because we think that, maybe we're just being crazy, or we're being mean, or we're being negative, or things like this. There's a difference between being negative and being crazy or being mean, and being mindful, being aware. Being negative isn't you saying, hey, I'm not going to go down that alleyway. That alleyway is long and very dark and might have some people in it. Matter of fact, I think I see some strange characters down there right now. That's not being negative. Being mean is not you saying, hey, I don't want to conversate with this person because they're always gossiping, they're always just talking negative stuff, and anytime I try to give them some positive insights or some wisdom, they just discredit it and try to argue with me about why I'm wrong for thinking this way. So I'm going to stay away from them. That's not being mean. We have to realize there's different levels of being mean. There's different levels of being negative. There's different levels of our spiritual journey that we're going to have to realize that it's for a reason, that we have these gut feelings for a reason. It's not that we're mean that we don't want to talk to you. It's not that we're mean that we don't want to go to your party. It's not that we're mean that we don't want to go to this work function. It's just that we see through you. We see through what is being portrayed to us. We see through and see who you truly are. Not who you truly are. I don't want to say that, because we all are truly the divine source. We all are the divine light. We all are love, peace, serenity. But we see through to who you are right now. That's a better way to say it. We see what your heart has around it. We can see the filth, the grime that you carry, the sludge that is around your heart and your spirit. We can see. The more we do the spiritual work, the more we strengthen ourselves in our connection with the divine source, the more we do our prayer, our meditation, the more we do our knowledge building and reading and just learning about emotions and about people and about the ways of the universe and how the laws of the universe work, we're able to see when someone is not aligned with their divine path, or even with your path, when someone should not be in your life more than just the moments that they're in your life. There's lots of people that come into our life who are only supposed to be there for that moment of our life, not for a week, not for a month, not for years, but just we had that moment right then and there, and we wish the best of luck to you. You pass by them, you work with them one day, you do this one day, you get in an accident and have a conversation with them one day, and that's it. You're in the Uber with them, and you're talking to the Uber driver. That's it. We don't need to make a further connection sometimes. We find ourselves wanting to do these things, especially early in our journey when we want to build a community, And we notice that lots of times people can talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And then that's when you start to truly learn the skills the skills that you'll need so that you're able to pick up when people aren't truly living from their divine self, and they may be just talking the talk to, fit into how you are now being portrayed, fit into the new self and energy that you are being, immersed in, because we have a vibration around us, whether you know it or not. When we walk into a room, when we get into a Uber, when we get into a car, when we get into any situation, we are a presence in that situation. We bring an energy with us when we're doing the spiritual work. So sometimes people are going to try to match our energy. Sometimes people are going to be like, oh yeah, I heard about if you manifest for 30 days that this, some people are going to try to match our energy, but not everybody needs our full energy. Some people just need a head nod and a smile, and we leave it at that. And some people need a full breakdown of wisdom and how they can help better themselves, or how you've been through this situation. Sometimes it's not about someone being better, but it's just some people need to hear your story and see that there is a different path. There's a different way. But we'll notice on our spiritual journey that lots of times we'll find ourselves cutting relationships short. And like I said, it's okay to have a relationship for a moment. It's okay to have a relationship for an hour, for a day. We don't need to take it with us, because lots of times people aren't ready to be the best versions of themselves. Lots of times people, portray the best versions of themselves to you because they see that you're being the best versions of yourself. But if they're not truly at the best version of their self, it will show to you. You will be able to see, you'll be able to realize, okay, I don't need to be around this person. And it's better to learn early than it is to learn later. Lots of times in our early life, when we were spiritually asleep, we would take these lessons and learn them later. But now we are starting to realize in our spiritual journey, as we're becoming more and more awoken to our surroundings, our environment, of our gut, and knowing that, oh, this person has a weird vibe to them. Oh, and then you hear them speak and you're like, okay, yes, this person is definitely not all the way there spiritually. Or this person has a lot of anger. This person has a lot of gossip in them. This person has a lot of negativity, of lack, of greed, of pessimism. So we have to realize that we need to be careful with our energy, because if our gut is telling something to us on our spiritual path, if we're doing the work, if we're always connecting with the Most High, then our gut is going to start talking to us. We're going to start feeling things in our body. It might not be exactly our gut, but 9 times out of 10 it's your gut. And you feel things in that area, that, the navel to the solar plex area. You feel things, and you are sometimes drawn to certain things as well as drawn away from certain things. And we have to start using this power and this influence more and more, because it only strengthens it. You see, we're not mean for wanting to stay away from certain things and draw to other things. We're not mean for no longer wanting to indulge in the same stuff that we used to, and now our friends think that we don't want to hang out with them, and we barely are hitting anybody up. We're not mean because we're taking time to ourselves, and we're not making sure we're on the phone all the time, liking everybody's pictures and calling all of our friends or FaceTiming our family every day, all day like we used to. We're not mean for taking 2.5 hours out of our day every day to meditate and pray and journal and read and do these things. We're not mean for this. We just see through you. We see through the illusion of the world. We see that there's a higher purpose to be had here. We see that there is true bliss, true serenity, inner and outer, to be attained. So if we come across someone who is living with so much toxic slug. All we can do is try to help them release some of these bad karmas of their past and release some of these toxins within their body, spiritually, mentally, and physically. But we don't want to invest all of our self into them. We don't want to pour out our whole cup until we are empty, helping out someone who doesn't want to be helped. We have to know when to use our knowledge of staying away from certain people and situations, and when to use our knowledge of investing time wisely. We can't use all of our energy, all of our spiritual positivity on others, because if we don't have enough to fill up, then the times when we truly need this spiritual energy throughout this day, we won't have enough. We have to always make sure that we're leaving enough time to do our spiritual practice, which should be 2 hours of meditation in total, 2.5, and then journaling and reading. So really you want to have at least 3 hours, 4 hours preferably, just to yourself every single day, if possible. Because in those times too, the 2.5 hours you're doing meditating, things like this, and then the extra 2 hours is you just chasing your dreams, reading, building knowledge, journaling. All it takes is 30 minutes a day to be chasing your dreams. So we have to realize that our time is precious, our energy is precious. What we are here to do is bigger than just help a single person here and there. We, of course, are going to make the efforts to help every single person that crosses our path. But we also need to make discernment and know who we need to invest our time in, who we need to invest our energy in, and who is somebody that needs more time, and we can meet them at their level whenever we do see them. But we don't need to invest all of our energy and become their best friend or become, very close to everybody that we meet, just because we realize that we are all one and we are all connected and we all come from the same source and we are all brothers and sisters. Doesn't mean that everybody is supposed to be in your household. Doesn't mean just because they're part of the same family of the Most High that they need to be in your house. Protect your house, protect your home, protect your temple, inner and outer. We have to realize that our gut instinct sometimes tells us when we need to indulge into people's mindsets, when we need to help people mentally, because we can always help people physically. You should always help people when you can, if they need some physical help, whatever. But mentally, sometimes people aren't ready. Sometimes people are filled with so much demons and spirits and just false beliefs that we have to say, okay, I'm just going to be quiet around this person. I'm just going to keep my distance around this person. I might not hang out with this person at all ever again. And it's not because we're mean. It's just because we see through these people. We see through what they're trying to portray. We can tell by the way that they speak that just because our first impression might have been great, that after a while, their true self has been coming out. Not the true self, not the divine self, but their true self filled with sludge, and all these toxins and false beliefs are coming out. And we realize it's hindering our own self-growth. And then that's when we need to take a step back and say, hey, this relationship isn't working for me. It's not that we're mean, it's just that we can see through people. We can see through situations. We can see through predicaments that seem like, oh, this is supposed to be a good situation. You should be having a fun time. You should be enjoying yourself here. But we know that this is corruption. We know that this is filled with just wickedness and hate and things like this. Even if it's not a person per se, sometimes it's a situation or a place that we're in. We can just feel the energy is off. And we're like in a corner, like just looking at everybody, not judging them, but just not knowing what to do. Not knowing what to do with our hands, not knowing what to do with our phone even. Because, we're not even really a person that's scrolling like that anymore. So we don't even know what to do. We don't drink. We don't do anything with our hands. We try to interact. And it's very surface level conversations with most people. So we have to realize that on our spiritual journey, we become different. We become different than the mass society, and lots of times it's going to bring us to situations in front of different people where we have to realize that we aren't in sync. We aren't even close. They're somewhere way over here in La La Babylon land, and we're over here, smelling the flowers and the grass and looking at bees and enjoying Zion. So we have to realize that we're not mean. We just see through people. We just see through and see that they are still stuck in the illusion. And sometimes that scares us. Sometimes that makes us want to back off, because that energy can be really strong. The illusion of society on people nowadays is super, super strong. I know there's tons of people doing spiritual work, but compared to the people that are stuck in the illusion and the Maya of Babylon of society, the people that are stuck in this illusion that they always need, or they always need to, have the newest clothes, or they always something else, They're picking up toxic traits and toxic habits from other influencers and things like this, and getting advice from silly people who they shouldn't be getting advice from. This is something society constantly is going through right now. And we have to realize that a lot of people are affected by their environment in more ways than we can even count. Between it's the food we eat, between it's the things that we watch, between it's the things that we invest our money in, between it's the companies that we support, the people that we be around, the places that we go to, the things that we think about ourselves every single day. There's so much impacting people's mindsets and emotions in society that we have to truly take most people for a grain of salt. We know that they're the divine self. We know that they are truly an amazing miracle walking, a blessing walking. But lots of times people have reduced themselves to a grain of salt of knowledge. So we have to truly just take them as that, meet them where they're at, understand them where they're at. Just because someone has read a bunch of books on statistics and science and math and algebra that's math, and a bunch of world history books doesn't mean that they are, full of wisdom. It means they're just full of knowledge. And not all knowledge is very powerful. You can have a lot of knowledge, but if you don't know how to use it, is it very powerful? Is it even powerful? No. It might be powerful for someone else. Yeah, if you're able to say that knowledge, speak that knowledge, teach that knowledge to the people who need it. Yeah, of course, even if you never use it. But knowledge alone, without direction, without guidance, without actually knowing what knowledge needs to be attained, is useless knowledge. And this is what people are walking around with. This is what people are walking around with their chest up with. It's false confidence. It's a false, shell of clothes and this house and this car and this amount of money and, this hairstyle, and I look this good, and making sure my skin is completely perfect. It's a false confidence that people walk around with, because they're really walking around with no knowledge of the true ways of the universe, the true laws of the universe, that we are all here to be the best versions of ourselves, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and truly be a loving light, a loving source that is a representation of the Most High, that's a representation of our divine self. A wave is a representation of the ocean. We don't ever see a wave and think, oh, there's no ocean. This wave is just random. Where'd this wave come from? We know where this wave came from. We know this wave came from the ocean, where we don't separate the two. We just admire the wave for what it is. That is where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be waves. We're supposed to be tides coming up, enjoying our time, and coming back down into the source, to the ocean, and giving that energy, that wisdom back to the source. And also gaining that energy and wisdom from the source so that we can get pushed back up and gain some more wisdom and knowledge and bring it back to the source so that it becomes a complete cycle. But we have to realize that we're not mean. It's just that we see through you. Just like a wave isn't mean, it's just that sometimes it has to push through the debris. It has to push through your sandcastle. It has to push through your beach towels and your beach umbrella and all these things that you brought onto its, awareness. It has to push through and around these things for everything to truly be blessed by His presence, by things to be truly blessed by its nurturing self. If the wave doesn't come all the way up, then maybe the crabs wouldn't get the little bits of water that they need to survive under the sand. Maybe the little bugs wouldn't get the extra microplasms and microorganisms that they need to survive eating off the beach. Maybe the seagulls wouldn't get enough of the little bits of nutrients that they needed when they get fed from whatever they eat off the beach, if it isn't your French fries or something. So we have to realize that everything has a purpose, and if something is stopping you or hindering you from being your best self, like a person that you have let into your life who you starting to see through and you're realizing that they don't need to be a part of your life, you have to sometimes push through them and go around them just so you can do what you need to do so that you're able to get back to the source. Because once you're able to see through them and you realize that they are something that is just in your way to becoming your best self, we have to make that conscious effort to say, okay, I have to sever this relationship. I have to sever this, not even relationship, but this acquaintanceship even sometimes, for the betterment of all mankind, for the betterment of many. I have to destroy this sandcastle. I know I'll make this one person sad who took all this time to build this sandcastle, but all these other organisms and all these other animals and creatures are going to be fed if I become the best version of myself. If I cast up the tide of the whole part of the beach that I've been trying to cast up this whole time, I've been working my way up, all the way up onto this beach. Now it's finally high tide. I'm going to shine. This is life. When it comes to our high tide, when it comes to our time to truly live and walk in our own spiritual self, there's lots of things that we're going to have to go around. There's lots of things that we're going to have to knock over. There's lots of things that we're going to have to cast away out of our life and out of our life to get back to the source. Because a lot of things sometimes block us, and sometimes that even means old relationships and new. We have to learn to see through people so that they're no longer blocking us, and we know when to let things go and when to go around things and when to push through things instead of letting things hinder us from being our best versions of ourselves. So it's not that we're mean, it's just that we see through to our true destiny. We see through you. We know that we have to do what we need to do so that we can help the betterment of mankind. We know that the universe has to play out the way it plays out so that the best outcome unfolds for all of us. It's not personal that they don't need any help, that they don't need any enlightenment, that they don't need any of your, light, any of your energy. That's not what we're saying. It's just that right now, they aren't ready for everything that you may have to give them. They might like pieces here and there, and that's fine. But we don't need to try and fix anybody. We don't need to try to explain ourselves to anybody. We cannot like people. We can be a quiet person in the corner of a party. We can be, a quiet person at work. We can be someone that's not talking about every new thing that everybody else is talking about. We can be different. We can be ourselves. And realize that we're not being mean by being maybe distant, by being maybe quiet compared to the regular people of the society. It's just that we starting to see through the universe. We're starting to see through the illusion, and we can actually see the universe. Is what I truly am trying to say, is that we actually see the universe for what it is, instead of only seeing this hallucination that we see, this illusion, this Maya that we see. Because this is what life is. 9 times out of 10, we are seeing the illusion. We're not seeing life for what it is. We're not seeing the universe for what it is. We're seeing the illusion. So once we start to wake up and we no longer see the illusion, we start to see through people and see through situations and realize when we need to cast people away and when we need to actually take some effort and be a little patient and put a little more work into people. Because not everybody deserves your energy. Not everybody deserves the brightest parts of your light right now. Because lots of times people don't ever truly appreciate the light that we have to give. But that doesn't mean that we have to stop giving it. It's just that we have to be wise on how much we give in certain places. It's about seeing where people are when you meet them, or throughout your meetings and conversations, and trying to meet them where they are at. And if they're not even trying to meet you where you're trying to meet them where they're at, because really you're trying to come down to where they are so that they can, meet you where they're at, and you can meet them where they're at, and you can have an actual conversation that's not about gossip or toxicity or pop culture or things like this. And if that's not happening, then you have to realize that, okay, it's time to let that go. It's not being mean. It's just that I see through you, and I see you're not ready to talk about other things other than how bad your life is and how bad the world is and how this celebrity is talking about this celebrity and this and that, or this new trend, or I don't have this car yet. And we're not here for that. We're here just trying to survive and trying to strive so that we can get to the next level just like everybody else. I'm not surviving, not just striving, but living in that spiritual plane of pure serenity, pure bliss, pure alignment. So don't stress yourself out about trying to fit in with every environment or every person or every situation. Just realize that you have to trust your gut sometimes, and some things aren't for you because you can see through the people in that situation, or you can see through the situation in general and see that it's not for you mentally, physically, or spiritually. So if you haven't, please subscribe, like, comment, share, and I appreciate everybody that's been doing that. And I hope you have a blessed rest of your week. And remember that you're not mean. It's just you can see through them. You can see through the people. You can see through the situations. You can see through them. We can see through to the truth that if it's not coming out of a place of love, it's not coming out of divine source, if it's not coming from a place of, unity and true happiness, true awareness, it doesn't even have to be happiness, but a place of awareness, a place of true universal truth, then you don't want to really indulge yourself in it. We like to get deep. We like to talk about things other than the surface level and the physical form and the 3D plane of things. We're over here in the 5D, and that's okay. It's not a confidence thing. It's not a cocky thing. It's just a reality that we have left the 3D. We have left the regular physical, and we have graduated finally, thankfully, praising the Most High.